This thing right here is what you need to remember. Okay? That was the purpose of the song and the purpose of the story, is to help you know what those words are. Okay? It's sohcahtoa, like you're soaking a toe, but add the in the end. Sohcahtoa. Okay? We will learn and listen to that song lots until you get it. Really? Really? So we'll do it again and again and again. All right, so what you need to know is the S, the C, and the T stands for sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay? The abbreviations are SIN for sine, COS for cosine, and TAN for tangent. Okay? This is trig functions. Okay? Most of the time people like them. It sounds weird and it sounds hard, but I promise you it'll be okay. All right? The O and the H and the A and the H and the O and the A on sohcahtoa, what they tell you is which sides that you have to use for that function. Okay? So for sine, it says O and H beside the S. That stands for opposite over hypotenuse. Okay? Beside the COS is A and H. That stands for adjacent and hypotenuse. Beside the tangent is an O and an A beside the T. So that's opposite and adjacent. Again, what we're using this for is to be able to find the sides of a right triangle when it might not be a right triangle, or when we don't know all the sides. Like with Pythagorean theorem, you know how you have to know two sides to get to the third side? If you look at the problems below here, you actually know an angle and a side, but you don't know the other sides. Okay? So the purpose here is so that we can find everything that we need to find. Okay, so on the first one, the 8, 10, and the 6, notice that there's an X down there at the bottom. Okay? That means that we're going to start off with this angle. The opposite and the adjacent changes depending on which angle you're looking at. Okay? And that's what in the song it said, depending on which angle you're focusing on, that matters which angle you start with. Okay? So you always think about, okay, where's my angle I'm starting with? Alright? So I'm starting down there at X. Well, the hypotenuse is always across from the 90. Always. No matter which angle you're looking at. Across from the 90 is the hypotenuse, so that's the H. Okay? Now, the angle that we're looking at is that blue one. The one across from the blue one is the O. So in this case, 8 is O, because that's the opposite. And then the other one that's left is the A. That's the adjacent. Question so far? Okay, so let's say in this problem that I wanted to know what sine of x was. Alright, my formula over there says that sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So what's opposite and hypotenuse in this problem? 8 and 10. So sine is 8 over 10. So what would cosine of x be? My formula says it's A over H, so 6 over 10. Okay, and then so tangent over there it says O over A, so here O and A is 8 over 6. Question so far? Okay, let's look at the next one that doesn't have a problem there. Notice on this one that you're starting with the angle up at the top, because that's where there's an angle. You start wherever there's an angle that it gives you. Okay? The hypotenuse is still across from the 90, so this is still the hypotenuse. Okay, where's the O and the A? So 3 is the O, because 3 is across from that angle that I'm looking at. So this is O. And then the other one is A. Questions? Okay. So write down what you think that sine of x would be, what cosine of x would be, and what tangent of x would be. Write down what you think each of those would be. Alright, so you should get 3 over 5 for sine, 4 over 5 for tangent, and 4 over 5 for cosine, and 3 over 4 over tangent. Questions about those? Okay, next example, last one that doesn't have numbers on it. Okay, I want you to take this example, start with the angle that's down here. It's a fancy looking O, it's called a theta. And see if you can figure out what sine, cosine, and tangent are. I would label the triangle first. Okay, looking at your papers, it looks like most of you are good. If this is the angle, this is O. This has got to be the 90. So that's the H, and then the A's at the bottom. Okay, so sine of the angle, Caleb, what would the sine be?
5 over 12.
Good. Nate, what would the cosine be?
6 over 12.
Good. And then the tangent, Haley? Good. Any questions about those? Now, the reason this is important is because we can find the sides now of other triangles. And there are a lot of ways that this is used. And I've got an activity that hopefully, if it's still pretty, by Thursday that we get to go outside and do an activity with it. Okay? So that means that today and tomorrow and Wednesday, you've got to make sure that you understand this, because the activity won't help you without understanding what's going on. Okay? Alright, so looking at the next triangle, notice that they gave me an angle and they gave me one side. And basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be finding the other sides. Okay? But for now, we're just going to set it up because that's the way they have it written. Okay? Start with the angle they have and label the sides, and then label that over there. Alright, so across from the 90 is the H always, so C is H. Across from the angle you're given, so here's the angle I'm given, so all the way over, that's opposite, is the O, and then the other side's the A. So A is A, that's good. Okay, so sine of 30 is opposite over hypotenuse, so 7 over C. Cosine of 30, adjacent over hypotenuse, so A over C. And then lastly, tangent of 30 is 7 over A. Now, if you'll look at these things that we just come up with, there's an equals here in the middle of all of this. On sine of 30, notice how the only thing missing as far as the letter goes is C. We're going to be able to use this to figure out what C is. Okay? Cosine's not going to help me because I got 2 letters there. But tangent will help me get A. So sine's going to help me get C, and tangent's going to help me get A. Okay? And so that's sort of what we're going to be doing as we set up these problems, is we're going to start off with our OA and H, and then we're going to figure out which one of these, sine, cosine, or tangent, is going to be helpful to us. Okay? So sine, cosine, and tangent, and you've never known how to use them, well, we're going to learn how to do them. The important thing about the calculator is that under mode, okay, you have to be in degree mode. So if you go down, notice there's radian right there, and if radian is highlighted on yours, then that's not going to turn out correctly. You have to move your cursor over and highlight degree to get it to work. Okay? So look at number 1. Here's the angle we're going to start with. It's up here at the top. Okay? From there, we're going to label our triangle. Okay? I know that across from the 90 is the hypotenuse, so here's the hypotenuse. I know that opposite of the angle is opposite, and I know the other side's the A. Okay? The 2 important sides that you need are the sides that have something on them. For example, you need the 11 and the X. Okay, which of our things on sohcahtoa have an A and an H with it. Cosine. You see that? So we label our triangle, we figure out which one we need based on what's there. So we need cosine. So what you're going to write down is cosine, and then you write the angle beside cosine. The angle's 60. And then you write the A and the H. Okay, question so far? So you label your triangle, figure out what you need, write down what you need, put the angle beside it, and then equals whatever the proportion is. Alright, here's how we solve it. We put it over 1, make it a fraction equal to a fraction, and now we cross multiply to solve. 1 times x is x, and then this right here, the number comes first, so you put 11 and then cosine 60. So then in our calculator, make sure you're in degrees. Hopefully you already are because we checked that. But then you do 11 and then cosine 60. Your decimals that you're going to get, most of the time you're going to get decimals. Okay? We got a pretty nice decimal as we got 5.5 here. But most of the time you're going to get decimals that are not like that. Okay? So don't be surprised that you're going to get a lot of strange decimals. Okay? Start with the angle that you're given and label your triangle. So x is what? What's x? O. 10.3 is H. And then A is down here. Okay? The two sides that I need are the two sides that have something on them. So I need the H and the O. So which one of our things has the O and the H? S, C, or T? S, sine. So we're going to put sine. The angle always goes beside of it. So what's the angle? And then equals O over H. X over 10.3. Okay, put it over 1. Cross multiply. 1 times x is x. This times this. How do I write that?
10.3
Alright, let's put it in the calculator and see what we get. When we do these, let's round them to 1 or 2 places. So I'm going to put 6.20 because the 1 rounds up and also the 9 does as well. Okay, I want you to try to set up number 3. Don't solve it, just try to set it up. Okay? Alright, so here's 41. Here's the O, not an A. Here's the O, here's the A. I know that's the H, but I don't really even need it because I see that there's something on the O and the A side. So you're correct, it is tangent. So we have tangent of 41 equals 4 over x. Alright, so this one is a little different to solve it. You still cross multiply. Okay, I still put over 1 and I still work it out. But when I multiply by x, notice it's not just an x by itself. Okay, so that's x tangent 41. I put the x first always. Equals 4. Okay, questions so far? Questions about what I did? Okay, we're solving for x. We're trying to get x by itself. So what do you think that we would do next? Divide by tangent of 41. It's just something complicated that we divide by. Okay, and then so I put it in the calculator. I still put my divide sign. It just doesn't go side by side. You have to put the divide. So 4 divided by tangent 41. And you get 4.6. Alright, if I label the sides, here's my angle, there's the O, A's beside of it, and H is across from the 90. So it looks like the ones I need are A and H because they have something on that side. Okay, so A and H is cosine. So cosine of 37, remember always write the angle beside of the sine, cosine, or tangent, is A over H. So what is it over there? 11 over X. Okay, then we cross multiply. Alright, X is with cosine of 37, so that's my first step. And then 1 times 11, so we have 11. So I got to get rid of that cosine of 37, so what am I going to do? Divide. So in my calculator, I'm going to put 11 divided by cosine 37. And you should get 13.8. Okay, so number 5 and number 6 are very much the same kind of question. The only difference is that we're missing more than one side. So there's a couple ways to do it. It looks like that there's a hole through number 5. So let me see if I can tell you what that's supposed to be. This one right here is supposed to be 9 inches. Okay. The 9's cut out there, so it's hard to see. Alright, so let's label our sides. Here's our angle. The 9 is the O, because that's opposite from 51. Okay. Across from the 90 is the H, and then the other side is the A. Question so far? Now, because I'm missing both sides, that means I get to pick when I start it off. I want to pick something that has an O with it because O has the 9. But it really doesn't matter whether I use the A or the H because I want to find one of those sides, and it doesn't matter which one you find first. Okay? Personally, I usually use sine, but you could use sine or you could use tangent. It doesn't really matter. Okay? Which one do you want to do? Sine? Okay, so that means that we're going to deal with O and H right now. So we have sine of 51. Remember, always put the angle beside of it. And then O and H, because O and H is the sine ones. So O is 9. H is, I can just put an H there. You can put X. You can put whatever you want to. Alright, put it over 1. Let's cross multiply. And then divide. And what do you guys get for the answer? Good. 11.6 is correct. Now, to find A, I can do a similar thing and use a different trig function. Or you can use Pythagorean theorem. The reason that you could use Pythagorean theorem is because now you have two sides. Pythagorean theorem, you have to have two sides to get to the third side. We couldn't use Pythagorean theorem on these problems up here because you only had one side. You didn't have another side yet. But now that we have two sides, if you wanted to use Pythagorean theorem, you can. Okay? Or I can do another trig function. So which one do you want to do? Pythagorean theorem or a trig function? Pythagorean theorem? You can use to find the other side. You can use Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Or you can use another trig function, which means you could use like cosine or tangent now to find the a, since we already found the h. Pythagorean theorem is probably easiest as long as you know what to do with it. Okay? So we know that we found 11.6. 11.6 is the hypotenuse. So we have 9 squared plus a squared equals 11.6 squared. So we're going to add or subtract? Subtract and then take the square root. So go ahead and do that. All right. The 5 is the h because it's across from the 90. Across from the 53 is the O and the other side's the A. I need to use h, which means I either have to use sine or cosine. Okay? Let's say we found O first, so that would be sine of 53 equals O over 5. All right, so this is where you cross multiply. This one ends up that you can just multiply, and you get 3.99. Be really, really careful. If they are decimals on your calculator, I do not want you to round that to 4 if there's decimals. Okay? I want to see that there was decimals. All right, so then for the other side, you would do 3.99 squared plus a squared equals 5 squared. So then we would subtract, and then we would take the square root, and you get like 3.01 or something like that.